Welcome to Alexander's Prestige in North Yorkshire. After 5 years of waiting, finally my Purosangue has arrived. So I want to tell you a little bit about the options, why I spec'd it, and also what it's like to actually live with the car. So first of all, specifications are over £100,000 worth of options. That's not unusual for a Purosangue, but it's still a lot of money, isn't it? So let me talk you through it. A lot of money on the outside, so £30,000 in carbon fibre. Front splitter, carbon fibre wheel arches, carbon fibre under door covers, carbon fibre wing mirrors, and obviously the huge forged diamond turned wheels. I mean, they're just a work of art, aren't they? They are beautiful. Yellow calipers, Scuderia shields, more carbon fibre at the back, carbon fibre rear diffuser. Talking about options, many will know that Ferrari display all their options on a plaque in the boot of the car. Now this is, I suppose, what they call bragging rights, because even if you didn't want all this specification, and this is what £100,000 looks like on the plaque, but you couldn't exactly turn up at the school or the golf club, could you, with a tiny spec plaque? So they almost embarrass you into ordering more options on the car. Whilst we're in the boot, this car is a practical car. One thing I like about it in particular is it's got a false floor under here, so I can put all my stuff, even my branded water, hello, under here. So we'll talk about it a bit more, but this is a practical car. So let me talk you through about the inside now and tell you about the options there. On to the interior of the car. I love a light interior, and this is Grigio Chiaro. This interior alone in this colour combination is £16,000. I'll talk you through the detail of that. I mean, the stitching, what was that? £2,000 to have the colour stitching, and we've got the black Cavallino headrest. How much was that? That was £1,500. To have the dashboard in black as opposed to the white, that's extra, that's another £3,000. I can go on and on and on, but it looks absolutely fantastic. Carbon fibre everywhere again on the inside. Over £15,000 spent on carbon fibre. Centre console, dashboard, paddles, steering wheel, and also this door trim here. This is called the upper door panels. They're £8,000 a load to have these in carbon fibre. So lots of money spent, but these are sort of must-haves in my opinion. It makes such a difference. You spend a lot of time in the car. Also options, vented seats in the front, vented seats in the back, massage seats. So I think that was about £4,000 for those. Now, watch out kids, that's £2,000 for your vented seats in the back. So if you're watching this, you must appreciate that. And one particularly nice thing in this car is the electrochromatic sunroof. How much was that? That was a £13,500 option, which is pretty cool because you press a button on here and it goes from light to dark. So one of the coolest things about this car is these rear hinge doors. Such theatre the way they open, look at that. It's so cool, the kids love that. In the back of the car, 4 proper race seats in this car, which adds to the theatre but also makes this car properly practical. They're all electric, the seats as well. You can adjust the heating, and from the back you can do your vented seats, you can do your heated seats. Obviously, like I said, the vented seats are an option on this car. But I think one thing that's important to show, I'm 6 foot, so my driver's seat was in the position I drive in, and I'm sat in this car still with plenty of knee and leg room. So, you know, it's a proper practical car, but it is cool and it is special. So I think the important thing now is, should we take the car for a drive and see what it's like? So first of all, let's start this V12. Now, before we set off, I have to tell you, the feeling you get straight away, I mean, just when I rev this engine, I mean, I don't know if you can see it on that rev counter, but it's so free revving, it's like, oh god, that's just fabulous. Anyway, so let's have a drive, and I'll give you a bit more information about what it's all about. So here we go, let's go. So first of all, with this car, I think what's really important to remember is this isn't a small SUV, this is just a big Ferrari. This is a high-up GTC for Lusso. It's not trying to be an off-road car, it's not trying to be a big family car, it's trying to be a practical Ferrari. So this car shrinks around you, and I think one of the key points to this car is its active suspension. It's got independent air suspension with no linkage with the anti-roll bars. So it basically means all 4 wheels do things individually. and I don't know the technicalities to it, but what it actually means is you get a car that rides so smoothly, but even in the firmest suspension setup, it's not crashy at all. It's probably the most comfortable sports car available. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's not like really, really soft like a Range Rover, but it's so taut, but at no point uncomfortable. It really stands out from the crowd. And then we've got the engine. So right here, right next to me, I could almost touch it because this car is front mid-engined, is that naturally aspirated V12. It's just there, you can feel it all the time. Now, when you've been used to hybridized cars like the 296 or turbocharged cars like the Lamborghini Urus, those cars have instant torque. So you've got to recalibrate yourself with this car. Because it's naturally aspirated, you don't get all that performance until higher up in the rev bounds. So you've really got to work at extracting the performance. But when you do, it's really worth it. Should we have a little go? So I'm going to put us into sports mode. I'm going to put us into the firmer suspension, manual gearbox. Shall we just take a few minutes to listen to this? You can't tell me that's not a true Ferrari. The turning is so sharp, you can feel the rear wheel steering just grabbing you in. Because you're up that bit higher and because it rides so well, it's probably point to point one of the quickest cars I've driven because you can extract all the performance out of the car. But gear change is it's like a gunshot, and it's just like, it's a real Ferrari. It really is a real Ferrari. And actually, very comfortable too. This seat's probably suited for me. I'm quite long-legged, so it's the only car I've driven where the thigh support comes all the way out and it actually fits directly under my thigh. And I've not driven a car that's done that before. I don't know, it just like suits me, it just fits me. It's like a well-tailored suit. So, I've told you what I like about the car. What frustrates me about the car? Well, the infotainment system is a bit poor. All of the haptic controls are rather annoying. Now, I've lived with the 296, so I've managed to navigate myself around things, and I have got quite used to them, to be honest with you, but it is quite frustrating. So, everything needs to be done through this menu, this little touchscreen, which is like a little mouse. So, like for example, when you've got your Apple CarPlay on, like I have now, which takes away your rev counter, which is so annoying. But anyway, so it does. So if I wanted to say put Spotify on, I've got to use this little cursor, find my Spotify, press Spotify, turn it on, and that's how you put your music on. Now, try and do that when you're driving on a motorway. It's not easy at all. So what I've done is the best £30 I've ever spent is to get a phone bracket, a magnetised phone bracket by here. I just put my phone on, and actually, things like Spotify, I just use it on my phone, and then it just comes up on the screen. So that's the easiest way of doing that. And then you can just clear the Apple CarPlay from there, and then you're back to this screen here. But, oh God, that's annoying. And then what happens is, if you don't use it for 45 seconds, you can pre-select it, but that's the longest. 45 seconds, it all goes to sleep. So you're driving along, and you want to use your cruise control. So you press the button, but sometimes it doesn't wake up because you haven't got your finger in the right place. I mean, it's just like, Ferrari, come on. And I can't believe they don't just put a central screen in the car. The new 12-cylinder has a central screen. Why won't they do that on their most practical car? But I don't know. I guess it's Ferrari. And one other thing as well is some of the things that you need to operate are only done on the passenger screen, which is quite cool, the passenger screen. I'll show you that in a second. But you can't see it from the driver's side, obviously for safety. So things like changing the bass and the treble and what have you can only do over there. So if I wanted to change it now, I've got to get out the car, go to the other side and do it. So I'll show you that in a second. But anyway, they're just some small points with the car. I can live with it. I've worked all that out and I can live with that now. So. On the passenger side, you have the display that pretty much does everything that should happen here, in my opinion. But anyway, the passenger gets the VIP seat. So they can see your speed, they can change all your audio settings, change all the seat settings. I mean, in here you can Decide whether you want a massage seat and any of the seats in the car, hot, cold, vented, everything you want. So really intuitive, which is great. But also you can go to your audio settings and change your, you can change your balance, your fade or the equalizer and stuff, but only from the passenger seat. You can't do that from the driver's seat, which is mental a bit, isn't it? But never mind. By the way, the Burmester sound system is absolutely a peach. Fabulous. So when you're not driving it fast, what's it really like to live with? Well, it's pretty good. It's pretty good because I've got a massage seat, I've got vented seats, I've got my Apple CarPlay, even though I use a rev camera, that's annoying, but I've got all the things that I need, cameras all around and what have you. It's smaller than some of the bigger SUVs, even though it's not an SUV, so it's easy to park. The engine note, it's, when you're in the higher rev ranges, it's got that V12 bark, but when it's not, you can hear it, so you know it's there, but it's not intrusive at all. And people say, oh, well, driving the car of that value every day. Well, if you think 10 years ago, people, when SVR came out, there were £100,000, people were like, oh, that seemed like a lot of money for an everyday car, but that became normal. And then Urus, G-Wagon, cars such as like that came out, so £250,000 cars became like okay to drive every day. And this is the same with this. I mean, even a Cullinan, it's a car that you can drive every day. And once you've got over the fact that it is an expensive car, it just becomes a bit more normal and you can enjoy it even more. This is an all-rounder. It's an all-rounder Ferrari with 4 seats. It's brilliant. So in summary, what do I think? Well, I bloody love this car. What do I like about it? Love the engine. I love the way it looks. I love the fact it's got a 100-litre fuel tank, so it's got a really big range, so you're not at the fuel station all the time, even though it's not that economical. What would I change? I'd like the infotainment system to change. I'd like it if it could rev to 9,500, another 1,000 more. I think it could cope with that. I think it would take a sensational car to a super sensational car. Can you live with it every day? 100% you can live with this car every day. It is a practical 4-seat Ferrari. Is it worth the money? That's a big question. Well, do you know what? It's a lot of money, but I think it is. I think there's a value in exclusivity. This is a one of one. They don't make anything out of it. There's no other part of the family group that's put parts together to make it what it is. This is a one of one. There's nothing else like it. And there's a price to pay for exclusivity. We do that with watches, handbags, restaurants. So why shouldn't we do it with a car? This is super special and my new favourite daily.